deplorable state of our roads in this country, particularly the roads in Hohoi, connecting Hohoi and Jasikai. Those roads, or those connecting roads in Hohoi and Jasikai and its environs are in very deplorable state. And I want to encourage all our political leaders that in the event that they go to the Volta region, they must do so by road so that they will experience firsthand what I'm talking about. Also, I do pray that they will embark on this campaign via road so that they can experience how badly we have managed our water bodies and how we have lost our water bodies to illegal mining, otherwise known as galamsey. And if you have visited Takoradi recently, I'm sure it will not be lost on you that River Pra and all the other rivers that we have in that enclave have now become Chokomilo. You remember that advert, Chokomilo, Chokomilo. Brown or sometimes black. It's sad. It saddens me to say this, but that is where we are now. Now, in the wake of protecting our forest reserves, the youth in Jasikai, in Konya, Levanyo, that enclave, have repelled an attempt by some mining agencies to come and mine in their forest reserve. They, the youth, together with the chiefs, have sacked them. Said that we don't want you here. Don't come and destroy our forest. I wonder where we will get our oxygen from when we destroy all the trees or the lungs of the country, you know, by logging all these trees and using them for galamsey. It's sad. It saddens me, but what can we do? So I pray that, you know, this campaign will reveal a lot of things to our political elite so that when they get opportunity to govern us, they will now appreciate what the people are going through. I also do pray that they will get in touch with as many villages and communities as possible so that they will see the state in which people live. They will see the poverty that has bedeviled a number of our people in this country. Then they will experience firsthand how people go to sleep without food and how they wake up in the morning not knowing where their next meal will be coming from. I do pray that they will visit the communities where we have left large farmlands, okay, vast farmlands, unattended to, for which reason we are experiencing food shortages in Ghana, particularly in the northern part of this country. I've seen a lot of lands. I pray that all these experiences will inform their decisions when they take over and when they decide to govern us in 2025. My name is KWAME OWUSO DANSO. I've been joined in the studios by Mr. Saka Salia, who is a leading member of the MPP and also a communications team member. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, God.
I trust you are well.
I'm doing fantastic.
Rochester is also here. I salute you, Mr. Fisherman.
I think I'm boss.
Yeah. Hamza Sweeney, bonjour.
How do I respond? I'm sure my friend's teacher will be disappointed.
Very
watching me disappointed. But anyway.
Bonjour. You respond bonjour.
Yeah, like good morning.
Okay, makes sense now.
Right.
Well, I was never interested
and to
in
the very many people
so.
who are watching us from across the length and breadth of this continent, I'd like to say a very special good morning to you. And thank you very much for choosing Pan-African Television. May I share quickly the topics with you so that you can also share your views with us here on the show, to which I'll be very willing and elated to read. Massive demo to hit Nigeria tomorrow over high cost of living. Massive demonstration to hit Nigeria tomorrow over high cost of living. Atoforsen Jakpa freed. AG vows to appeal. Parliament passes affirmative action bill. Controversy over vetting of Supreme Court judges. I'm interested in the affirmative action bill because Amma Pratt, who is the general manager of Pan-African Television and also the founder of Obasima Foundation or Obasima Summit, was very instrumental in this whole conversation about affirmative action bill. Indeed, she dedicated one of her conferences to promulgating, the passage of the bill and also, encouraging Parliament to pass it so that women will get fair representation in Parliament. So, Ama, if you are watching us this morning, kudos to you. And all those who are watching us, if you have a Facebook or Instagram, please send her a message and at least give her a pat on the back. I think that she's done a yeoman's job, or rather a yeoman's job. So we need to encourage people who think deeply about this country. So I'd like you to comment on that briefly, and then we look at the other issues.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to Nigeria first. Massive demo to head Nigeria. Register, let me start with you. I've never started with you before. Today I'll start with you.
Well,
And I think that the description of it is very important, or rather the characterization of it is very important. It says that over high cost of living. So I think that the central pillar around which we need to build our argument will be, the economy really. So let me start with you, Register, on that.
well, thank you very much, and let me say good morning to our wonderful viewers and listeners. And just before I go, let me say a very happy birthday to our common friend Debbie.
Debbie.
Yeah.
Madam Ness.
The rapper of Madam Ness, and wish.
Debbie, she's a sister.
Yeah. Well,
Pardon?
how about the rest?
No, the ones that she knows, I know them.
Okay. Well, it's getting interesting, the rate at which persons are becoming aware of themselves, and it is so good for our democracy and for leadership, because the political class seem to have overexploited the system, and that it is becoming the surest way for people to amass wealth and enrich themselves in a very short time. So I am happy that, for instance, the Kenyan demonstration has seen some positive results, despite the fact that we regret the excesses that happened. And it didn't overthrow the democracy that is in Kenya. It didn't give the military some backdoor route into taking over. Now, Nigeria sits on wealth. Nigeria should lead the development in Africa. Nigeria, is among the biggest producers of oil and hydrocarbons for a very long time. So, to see Nigeria in the state in which it is, I've had the opportunity to visit Nigeria. Yeah, going to Abuja is a wonderful place. Abuja is well built and well designed. But I was in Lagos, and you see naked poverty in Lagos. You look at the spate of criminality. And I have been a sad beneficiary of criminality in Nigeria because, my vessels were captured by pirates and armed robbers at sea. And we need to part with huge sums of money in order to be able to get the
vessels back, yeah?
Is it?
You got the vessels back?
No, they took all our expatriate crew and held them hostage. So we needed to struggle to be able to get them back, and it was not easy negotiating with pirates to be able to get our. So you see, once there's bad governance and people believe that they are not being treated well, it becomes a tendency for them to now turn to crime. And so we need the young people to now turn up and make the kind of demands that will make leadership understand that people cannot be taken for granted for a very long time. And we've gotten to that point. We saw the the wave in North Africa that started from Tunisia, Egypt, and all of that. Sadly, we've not seen much development after all the change in government. It looks like the clock has been reversed and things are back to the situation in which they were before the wave. In Kenya today, we've seen some major reforms. Even though the people are still calling for the head of the president, we've seen some major reforms in Kenya. And then Nigeria quickly decided to have some reforms. I hear the president said he was halving his salary and was calling on people to start cutting down their salaries and all of that. Other African countries are learning. The revolution in the Sahel region has also seen some reforms. Unfortunately, in Ghana, there are no reforms as yet. We still have the over-bloated government that we've all been complaining of. We've seen just recently, yesterday or so, the La Traditional Council went on demonstration against the sales of their land to persons who are politically exposed and all of that. I am a native of Tema, and we've had our fair share of land sales by TDC to persons who are politically exposed. And basically, you get the indigenous people being pushed into a corner and they struggle and live with poverty. So it is, to me, it's a good thing. We pray that they don't treat them with that level of cruelty where they will unleash the military and the police on young people who, a lot of whom are graduates, have served the country and only need to have something useful to do. Let's see what's happening with Dangote and its investments in Nigeria. The man is getting tired. He said he's now not going to invest in it, in his steel factory anymore because he's even struggling. A person of Dangote's caliber is struggling because some people believe that we need to import oil, refined oil, and make life difficult. I hear the president has issued a fiat that Dangote should now take crude oil from Nigeria and process and refine it. But he spent over $20 billion to build
a refinery.
Yeah. And he's struggling. We basically had similar situation in the so-called banking sector cleanup when we had almost all the indigenous banks being wiped out. And it looks like we go out there crying for foreign direct investment, but we don't look to grow our own investors. And then we cry about currency, because when you bring in foreign direct investment, they will definitely repatriate their profit in hard currency back into their system. So when you have countries that refuses to recognize the potentials that they have, build career amongst young people from the scratch and get them into entrepreneurial level where they would be able to build businesses and employ their own people, government cannot. It's never possible for government to employ everybody. Nkrumah tried and built businesses, but it definitely did not employ all Ghanaians, even at the time that we had population that was fairly small. Because at the time our population was just around 4 million or so. And now you have populations that Nigeria's population is over 300 million people, and the population in Lagos alone is about the population of Ghana. And so you need the private sector to be encouraged, to be supported, to build businesses, employ young people, and you need to be able to build entrepreneurs right from university.
Right.
And so if government policies do not point to that direction, it becomes a problem.
Right.
But you see, our kind of democracy is also one of the problems. Democracy is not just winner pay all, but it's also about who can invest the biggest. So you have private individuals who will now invest in people and would want to take their pound of flesh when you are in government.
Absolutely.
And in doing so, they take control of most of government activities
All right.
and determine their own costs. And so the taxpayers' money, instead of going out in diverse forms to encourage employment, will now be centered around persons whose resources were used for the campaign. And so we probably, as a country, may have to look again at the issue of state sponsoring the political parties in some way or form, or probably regulating from the EC's point of view or EC's position, political party sponsorship. So we know exactly who is sponsoring what and how much is going into the sponsorship. And we need to try and demonetize our democracy. Because if we continue to monetize the democracy, we need to pay back to persons who have invested in our democracy. And we'll see this kind of situation that we seem to be finding ourselves in. And the youth will rise. If we are not fortunate and the youth rises and then the military gets in, then all that we've gained in democracy will be reversed, because once they overthrow the constitution,
that's it.
The first thing they will overthrow is parliament.
All right.
And then there won't be any democracy again.
Thank you very much, Richard Starr. Now, for lovers of vehicles and for those of us who are extremely busy, I want to recommend Fix My Ride Company Limited to you. Fix My Ride Company Limited is a digital mechanical shop, experts in accident car repairs, engine tuning, overhauling, body works, oven spraying, air conditioning services, upholstery works, electrical works, automatic gearbox repairs, maintenance and general servicing for all vehicles. They use special machines in detecting car faults, and they give free towing services to customers. Now, the good thing is that they fix all types of cars. They're Toyota, Nissan, BMW, VW, Hyundai, Kia, Mercedes-Benz, Range Rover, Ford trucks, etc. Now, if you are a government worker and you will not be able to send your vehicles to them, the good thing is that they can actually send their drivers to pick up your car wherever it is that you are, and then they will repair it and bring it back without charging any extra fee. The one thing is also that if you are traveling to, let's say, Kumasi or to Elmina, and unfortunately your car gets spoiled on the way, they can send their towing cars to pick your vehicle for you for free, and then they will fix it for you and bring it back to you. Now, it is important that you get in touch with them. One other thing that I learned yesterday is also that, you know, for a lot of people who do not have the money to fix their vehicle, sometimes they leave it at the fitting shop for a very long time. So they are saying that if you want to sell your vehicle, a vehicle that in your estimation you cannot fix and you just want to sell it straight, don't wait to fix the car first before you sell it. They can actually buy the car in that condition from you at whatever price that will be agreed upon. So call them. You know, so if you have also imported a vehicle and you intend to sell the vehicle and you are not getting buyers, they will come in and buy the vehicle for you. So you can call them on 0303, I beg your pardon, 944 880, 0303 944 880, also 0540 556 020, 0540 556 020, and finally 0202 227 660. Fix My Ride, we own the finishing. Let me come to you, Hamza.
Good morning to you, and of course to my colleague in the studio, and to our wonderful viewers out there. With your permission, let me just wish our Deputy National Youth Organizer, Elekem Kotoko, a glorious birthday. Today happens to be his birthday.
You guys should have reached, so we'll call him on air. Call Elekem for me on air. Let's wish him a happy birthday. Yeah, let's wish him a happy birthday. He's a great guy.
He's been on, absolutely. So, and for those of us in the NDC, you can attest to the fact that when it comes to great guys, we have a number of them. Unlike your fraternity. That's just by the way. KWAME.
Yes, sir.
You see, what is happening in Nigeria, one can comfortably say that probably Nigerians got their inspiration from Kenya, from the happenings in Kenya. And for me, rather than being worried, I am excited about what is happening in Africa, especially now in Nigeria. I am excited because it gives me some sense of satisfaction that at long last, the youth of these countries are beginning to take active interest in the governance of their respective countries. They are gradually beginning to move away from issues unconnected to the governance of our country. They are gradually moving away from wasting so much time in our universities, especially in our TV rooms, watching football matches, be it the European, what do you call it, Europa, or whatever you call it.
Champions League.
Champions League and the likes. So for me, that is something that we need to comment. And most importantly, call on Ghanaian youth to also emulate that transition that is taking shape in the whole of Africa. Because if you look at our governance structure and the level of mediocrity that we have been subjected to in Africa, it is clearly unacceptable and unpardonable. And so the time has come for the youth of this country to take charge of their future. And they can only take charge of their future if they are willing to participate in the political administration of this country. And when we say participate in the political administration of this country, we are not just talking about getting positions in government. We are talking about assuming roles in their respective spaces to ensure that they hold governments accountable, be it in their universities, be it in the informal sector, those who are either mechanics or engage in any form of trade. The time has come for them to align forces. The time has come for them to demand that certain decisions that can be branded inimical to the progress of this country is either halted or nipped in the bud forever. And Kwame, what are the issues Nigerians are complaining of today? High cost of living. Can Ghana extricate itself from that particular complaint? Absolutely not. What have we been subjected to since this government came into office? My good friend's own political party. You remember that in 2016, we had all kinds of sweet promises. All kinds of fantasies were flying in the air, particularly spearheaded by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, head of their economic management team and now flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party. We were told in this country that when the NPP government assumes power, that because of his experience at the Bank of Ghana, and he had worked for so many years at the Bank of Ghana, he knew that this country had the resources to develop this country, to develop Ghana, and we did not need to go outside to borrow. Mahmoud Bawumia made those points and promised that he was going to transform our road infrastructure from the current layout to concrete roads. Not so? And that the government of this country was capable of handling that expenditure. Upon assumption of office, what have we been subjected to? A national debt that stood at 122 billion when they assumed office is now around 740 billion or more. Today, unemployment rate, and you see, when we talk about the high cost of living, people need to understand that the debt burden of the country, the unsustainable nature of your debt, is equally has a connection with your cost of living. Because if your debts are unsustainable, it leads to a situation where foreign companies are uninterested in investing in your economy. And also it leads to a situation where the capital markets take deliberate decisions to block your access to the markets like they did to Ghana. So all these activities or all these events have had dire consequences on the cost of living of the ordinary Ghanaian. And that is why we all should be concerned. And if you break down the cost in terms of the borrowing, the assumption is that every single Ghanaian, including you, Kwame, and your wife, you owe an approximate amount of 22,000 Ghana cedis. I am sure that your salary is not even up to that amount of money.
For the way.
Absolutely. But this is the amount of money you owe as a result of the reckless borrowing of this government. And so when you see Nigerians up in arms or Kenyans up in arms, there's the need for the Ghanaian youth to take inspiration from these countries and also take absolute interest in how this country is governed. And you see, again, we were made to understand that unemployment in this country too was also quite high. And there was the need for us to bring unemployment rate down. Remember that under Mahama, the highest level of unemployment among Ghanaian youth was 8.4%. Today, under the so-called economic messiah, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, as head of the economic management team, the rate of unemployment in this country is now about 14.7%. That tells you that even Mohammed's handling of job creation was far, far better than we have had over the last 8 years. And the fact that people are out of the universities and are unable to find jobs also has a direct effect on the cost of living in our country. What it means is that they are unable to support their families, and you know, the informal sector of this country is very huge. It simply means that they will not be in a position to support their families, and their families had high hopes and probably had to scrape the ground to see them through tertiary education with the hope that when they finish, they'll get employment. That is not the case in this country. So definitely, the effect on high cost of living would be dire. So if you look at Nigeria and even compare their economic metrics and indexes to Ghana, they are even far, far better.
True.
If you do so, even if you take Kenya as an example, Kenya is also far, far better. But the good people of Kenya, especially the youth, the Gen Z generation, came out to demonstrate their anger at the level of mediocrity as far as their governance system is concerned. And what are we waiting for in this country? And you see, when you say these things, there's the tendency for you to be branded as being partisan. But Kwame, the most important feature that cuts across all of us is the passion and love we have for the development of this country, irrespective of the political parties we belong to. And so there's the need for us to understand that even though we wear political colors, that does not supersede that of our obsession and passion to see this country develop. And so when we make statements of this nature, it is because of the fact that at the end of the day, our fidelity is not just to any political party, but first to the republic of this country. And if it is not being run well, it is a responsibility, and it behoves every citizen of this country to rise up to demand that the right thing is done. Kwame, when you look at Ghana's cost of living, you simply cannot write off the effect of taxation too. You remember, the same Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, in opposition, promised us that they were going to move this country from taxation to production, and that they were going to cut down taxes of the NDC government. Today, what have we seen? They have increased the tax network, the tax coverage, to about, with the introduction of about 40 different taxes in less than 8 years. The consequential effect of all that is that whether you like it or not, it will have a toll on businesses, and businesses are likely to pass down the effect of this taxation onto the ordinary Ghanaian. And that is the reason why when you go to the market, you are unable to pay for a tuber of yam. That is the reason why when you go to the market, you are unable to pay for a bag of maize. That is why when you go to the market and they tell you the price of rice, you get confused instantly. And that is why when you look at your earning ability and you look at the things you have to do, either rent, you find yourself wanting. It is simply because the taxes in the system are clearly unbearable. And if you remember, that was the last button that pushed the people of Kenya to rise up against their government, an issue of taxation. So it is difficult to understand why Ghanaian youth are not rising up to put this government in check. Because for those of us who are associated with political parties, anytime we speak, they tell us that we are doing propaganda. But we all know the realities on the ground. We all know that this country is not heading in the right direction. Since independence, when have we had a situation where Ghana is locked out of the capital markets? It's never happened. But it has happened under Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Recklessness. Again, one of the things that leads to such uprisings or such demonstrations against government has to do with corruption. Kwame, you know that since independence, no government has exhibited high levels of corruption than this current Mranado Bawumia administration. No government. Today, we started with PDS. You saw how they handled the energy sector of this country, how they decided to distribute the assets of PDS, ECG amongst themselves. And at the back of that, this country lost an approximate amount of $2 billion that was meant to come into the economy. Today, what are they seeking from the IMF? $3 billion. If they had prevented that reckless corruption at ECG, Ghana probably wouldn't have been at the IMF demanding $3 billion. Again, under the guise of cleaning the financial sector mess. How much money did they tell us to have? They spent on it over 20 billion Ghana cedis. The exchange rate then, an equivalent of about $5 billion, you wasted under the guise of financial sector cleanup. When the sector needed only about 3 to 5 billion Ghana cedis to survive, you could not invest 3 to 5 billion Ghana cedis to save employees within that financial space. You rendered them unemployed, and in the process of that, you have also engaged in unpardonable corruption. Kwame, so if you look at this trend, and quite recently, we woke up to the scary news of the president's daughters engaged with the ambulance repair spare parts deal of, I'm told is that the amount is about $34 million. Unbelievable.
Out of which about 115 million has been paid.
Unbelievable. $34 million. This is what these guys are doing to our economy. This is how they are gradually taking away the future of the Ghanaian youth. And that is why it is important for the Ghanaian youth to rise up against this administration. And just to conclude,
for me, yeah.
to conclude, you see, another major factor that leads to demonstrations has equally been met in this country. And that has to do with the deception in our politics, the lies in our politics. And since independence again, we can comfortably agree that we have never had a situation where a vice presidential candidate prides himself in the peddling of fantasies and lies than we have had under the MPP, and especially with specific reference to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
In conclusion.
And so when you engage in politics of deception and you raise the hopes of the Ghanaian people and you fail to meet their hopes and aspirations, they have legitimate grounds to rise up against the government. And I think that my admonition to the NPP government is to apply the brakes. Some of us are more than willing to encourage and support any Ghanaian youth that has an interest in holding these people accountable, be it financially or with our time, because we have had enough of the recklessness, we have had enough of the corruption, and we have had enough of the arrogance. And Kwame, please, just under a minute, it would be problematic for me to end my submissions this morning without also making reference to another important arm of government, which is the media, you guys. What we saw under this government in terms of its handling of the media is even the more reason why Ghanaians should come out and protect the sanctity of our democracy. This government returned this country into the culture of silence. We all saw what happened to Ahmed Swale for simply daring to expose corruption under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We witnessed how Manasseh Azure Ewuni had to be flown out of this country by the Media Foundation for West Africa for his safety, because the entire government machinery, led by the national security, came at him.
All right.
And so these issues may appear simple, but trust me, this is how you chip off your democratic gains. And if care is not taken, this country will be reversed back to a situation where we all don't want. But that is why those of us in the NDC, it is not in our interest for the country to degenerate.
All right,
it is in our interest to protect the democracy that we have bequeathed onto this country.
Thank you very much, and let me say thank you to Saka Salia. Your, let me commend your my admiration for your silence and your lack of interjection in respect of my brother's submissions. So now the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Good morning to our cherished viewers. Good morning to Nana Donko Akufo-Addo, our president, and our flag bearer, Elijah Mahmoud Bawumia. I think when you were doing the introduction, you talk about rules.
Yes.
You talk about the fact that while they go around doing their campaign, they should take cognizance of the bad rules.
Absolutely.
It is against that same background that today the president will be launching the DRIP. We call it DRIP. So that is a district road improvement program.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And then we have been able to source to bring to the country several thousands, about 7,000 or so, of equipment that will be given to the district assemblies, so that they won't wait for a road to be given to a contractor before they themselves will go and then maintain those roads
this is a brilliant idea.
And make it more trouble.
It's a brilliant idea.
So today at the Independence Square, the president, together with the local government ministry, the district assemblies, and then the district assembly command farm administrator, and all those who matter, including the Ministry of Roads, in collaboration, would be the people who will be in charge of this. And I think that this government is sensitive to the people, to the plight of the people, and therefore anything that would hamper that, the government is trying to avert it. And you could see, I mean, the development trajectory of this government. You see how government is able to ensure some housing, facilities.
Units, yeah, I think I've seen. For the
police.
I think I've seen.
The third time.
It's actually very beautiful.
Yes, and the last one was about 132 units and all that. And I think this government needs commendation and not condemnation from detractors.
No, in the areas where they have performed.
Yeah,
of course.
No government can be perfect.
Absolutely.
But this government, in most of the areas, about 90% of the areas have been perfect. Have been perfect, despite the challenges that we are facing. And nobody is running away from those challenges. Now let's zoom to, what do you call it?
But let me be quick to say that.
Yes.
Let me hasten to say that it is very commendable. This drip that you're talking about is very, very commendable.
Yes.
Because our roads are really terrible. And with this introduction, hopefully we'll be able to fix some of these roads. It's not a bad
we declared year of roads in 2020. But that did not come to fruition, because of the COVID.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody had to, and all those things. But apart from that, despite even this initiative, if you look at the road infrastructure, the records of this government surpass all others. 11,000, almost 2,000, kilometers of roads, as against our friends in the NDC, Professor Mills and Jomama together did about 5,000. Nanado alone did 11,000. But despite all that, we still see bad roads all over the place.
Yeah.
And therefore, where I live, my car spoils almost all the time. And therefore, this comes as a relief for all of us. So, I think that the government is in the right direction. If you go to the topic at hand, in Nigeria, the problems of Nigeria, we all know, what COVID brought in its wake. We saw what is happening in the other countries. No country is peaceful now. Peace is not only the absence of war. That's what we were told. You can see some countries, more or less, you can see from the face value that they are peaceful. But beneath that facade, they are not. So no country is peaceful now, because of the devastating effect of COVID-19 that consumed the whole world, to the extent that every country is looking inward And that explains the reason for some of these agitations. And nobody can deny that fact. I mean, if you look at what happened in Kenya, the youth went to the streets, agitated for what they went, and democracy allows it. The only problem I have is when some people, in the name of democratic rights, right to demonstrate, uses that one as a smoke screen, to do something else. And that's the reason why, if you look at all these countries, I mean, democracy ensures that even while the laws are given, there are checks. So even as your rights is given to you, there are checks to ensure that you don't overdo it or you don't cross the line. That's the reason why the Nigerian police, knowing the number of youth that will troop to the streets tomorrow, that is 1st of August, also deployed about 30,000 police and military people onto the street to ensure that people do not go overboard. And if you look at Ghana, we have always demonstrated. I mean, demonstration has always been with us. We have allowed people to air their views, their grievance, and disquiet about things that they feel are not going well. And that is part of our democracy. And the Constitution actually, provided for it. So I don't see anything new this time. In 1985, when we were doing the Kumapreku demonstration, when we were doing the Abu demonstration, KWAME, you also participated in one of those Ongbo demonstration.
Yeah, I was
like killers.
Yeah.
Oh, we are dying demonstration.
I was part of that demonstration.
Yeah, massive. I know.
It became a big problem for me.
People
because said I was NDC because I was part of it, but I was demonstrating because of what has transpired.
Exactly. So, under every government, there has always been people who are not happy with how governance is going and all that. But as usual, I think my brother Hamza came with his own topics. When we were talking about Nigeria, about 99% of his submission was on Ghana.
There's always that interlinkage, Saka.
Yeah, I don't mind if one or two, examples, and you cite Ghana and all those. But it was like the whole topic was on Ghana, and that is the reason why sometimes some of us, when we come here, we react in a way people think we are too partisan. Because the person who spoke before me was so partisan, to the extent that if you don't reply him in a partisan manner, it will not go well with your submission. So I thought maybe Richard Stark, did a very fantastic analysis of the situation. And that was apolitical. Even though you are still with the CPP. Where are you now?
He's a fisherman.
Yeah, with the fishes.
He actually works with Hawakumse.
He's a very good friend.
I know.
We've been together since the days of Pravda. Do you know Pravda?
Pravda Radio.
Yeah. Sweetest group.
I know Pravda.
Yeah. And then Hamza too.
Even before Pravda. You were doing TV Africa before.
Yeah, TV Africa and all that.
But you were on Capital TV as well.
Everywhere.
Yeah. But you met me at Capital TV.
I know.
And Capital TV was there long before Pravda.
That was long before Pravda.
We have suffered though.
But for the fact that we are friends, I don't see why I should continue to do newspaper review stuff anymore.
No, it's not about that. It's just about Mr. Pratt is even doing it. It's just about sometimes we may think that leaders don't listen to us. They watch us. They will pick a thing or two. You see? So
in furtherance of that assertion that Hamza was
you will also be partisan.
Too partisan.
Yes.
You see, I don't have to let some of the inaccuracies, go without rebuttal. He talked of debt. That this government has borrowed so much that they left behind 122 million and all that. I mean, if debt in terms of dollars, the NDC borrowed more than the NPP. People don't avert their minds to that too. Let's even take it. We came and met 122, and then we pay interest on those debts. By the fact that the cedi depreciated that much, from 4.2 to now about 15 and so. If you multiply that one with the debt that we met. So when we talk about the balloon debt, it's not only about you borrowing, it's about the debt itself expanding as a result of depreciation of the city. You understand? You understand what I mean?
I'm following.
Because the 700 that you're talking about, the 700 million and over that you're talking about, is in cities. So sometimes let's talk in dollars. How much have you borrowed in dollars? The NDC borrowed more than us.
But the 122 that you referred to, was it in dollars or in cities?
The 122 was in cities.
Yeah.
It was in cities.
So if you talk about that in dollar terms.
But the point is that, you see, he also talk about, everybody owe certain amount of, he has forgotten that the economy also expanded. The amount of money that you own, if we were to divide it by the population, it's also not the same as we are speaking. Your debt has increased, your assets has also increased. So when you're talking about the debt, the how much individual owe, you should talk about how much has been added to the public purse. It has expanded 15-fold. That one they don't talk about it. No problem. You talk about unemployment. Recently, the Statistical Service actually clarified this situation. They said in the past, in 2014, there about 2015, 2016, when they did their survey, and the questions asked were like those between 15 and 18. They asked them, what is your qualification? If you mention, they said, do you have job? If you say no, they said, were you available
for the job market?
For the job market. And those days, the word "were you available" was not there. So once you say, at that time, once you say I don't have job, then you are unemployed. But this time, they add, were you available? If you say yes, I was available, or I did not qualify or I was not available for a job. Okay, it is the opposite rather. This time, whether you are available or you are not available, they classify you as unemployed. But in the past, if you are available, then they will separate you from the unavailability. So it makes the figure lower, and that was the reason why it was 8.7. But because now, whether you are available or you are not available, they classify you as unemployed, it makes the figure higher, and that is the reason why we have the 14.7. If not, the NDC don't have any track record of creating jobs.
But your availability does not determine whether or not you would get a job.
No, but so if you say you are not available, so it means that you could not have been part of the unemployed. I was not available for any to take any job. So why do you then add that person to the unemployed figure? You see, so by the NDC time, it was segregated and all that, and that makes the figure lower. And I'm saying that the NDC don't have any track record of creating jobs. At where even the former president himself, at a point says, he was so frustrated to the point that he said he wasn't a magician to create job and to put money in people's pockets. We remember, other statement given to the extent that if you want to get jobs, go and then, gather stones and grasses and all those things. We remember all those things.
But he's been on this platform to clarify.
It's okay. I haven't mentioned names.
And he's your uncle. So,
I know, he's my grandfather. So I haven't mentioned names.
Don't do that to him.
Yeah, so
because he's been here.
I haven't mentioned names.
So
it's okay.
He said it.
So he's talking about corruption. Corruption can corruption can let people demonstrate all over the world. And to say that this government has been the most corrupt since independence, or I don't know what you're talking about. He has forgotten that, you see, when the head is rotten, the body itself is of no consequence. The rotten start from the head. You don't even mind the body itself. Apart from this allegation, unverifiable allegations that the NDC throw around, they'll go and get some information and then magnify it and create the impression it's a scandal. we have evidence of corruption by the head itself. John Dramani Mahama, when he was in power, we know of the Airbus situation, where government has become a laughingstock in the world, where the SFO in the UK and the US, Airbus mentioned that they paid certain amount of money to a government official, one that is referring to John Mahama. We have seen the Ford expedition case.
What prevented your administration from investigating those matters?
The special prosecutor is working on that. We have seen the Ford expedition matter, where Jibril Kanuzua in Burkina Faso actually himself confessed of paying money to John Dramani Mahama and giving him Ford expedition. The Ford was actually, given to him as a personal gift.
And what did he use it for?
I don't know. I don't work with you.
Because he explained to you that when
we don't need it. If you took a bribe, no, you see, if you took a bribe, and then you are caught and say, "Oh, I've left the bribe with my boss to continue doing the work," we don't need it. We don't need Jibril Kanuzua for Ghana to work. We have seen Professor Mills himself in the embryo case, where Professor Mills set a committee to investigate John Dramani Mahama. We've seen that.
But
he set a 3-man committee.
What has happened?
Pardon?
What has happened within this?
So the 3-man committee was set, and Professor Mills died within that period. So John Dramani Mahama came and dissolved that committee. The committee was chaired by the Interior Minister.
Yeah.
So I'm not even talking about the bus branding and all those Wyoming and all those. I won't talk about. I'm talking about John Dramani Mahama himself, the head, the person that wants to come back to power.
But that's why I'm asking you that.
Yes.
Nothing stopped your administration.
The administration
from taking over, respectfully,
yes,
from taking over those cases, because you see, I think that Ghanaians have had enough of the allegations.
So we need to have told him.
We need to substantiate the allegations.
No, I get what you mean.
You need to substantiate it and make it foolproof. Now,
exactly.
Respectfully, can I do my job?
Yeah.
That when NDC was in power, they did XYZ. Particularly the former president did XYZ.
Yes.
Now we have identified the rot that we alleged when we were in opposition, and this is what we have done.
But
so the bus branding, what became of it? You need to let us
know.
The bus branding,
the perpetrators actually refunded the money.
Fantastic. So,
you see, but apart from
the instigation of who? At the instigation of
they themselves, after the report was published, and then they were so embarrassed.
Who put the committee together? So let's
Kwame, when he was talking,
respectfully. No.
Yeah,
the reason why I'm actually interjecting, and I'm not meant to do that.
Yeah, I know.
Is that we are all for the purpose of public education, because I think that let's also credit the former president with a little bit of respect, even if we don't want to respect him.
Just a little bit. Exactly. I'm choosing.
Because he has come out to explain that in respect of these allegations which were leveled, these were the things which were done. I don't think that the MPP has come to rebut it.
Oh, I'm coming.
So when you are making these allegations, fresh allegations again,
are you making a submission or a question?
I am not. I'm just only saying that we need to clarify and explain things better.
Yeah. Proceed. So I said I'm not mentioning the bus branding. So those are not those that I'm not mentioning that. You see, I mean, if you create the impression that, when we came, we didn't do anything. Some of the cases are even in court now.
Yes, please.
The Puni cases, where some of them have been incarcerated. The NCA case. Yep. Some of them have been incarcerated. Some died along the way. Yep. We have seen the Maslog one, where the woman is now a fugitive, running away from justice. Where money is meant for market women were stolen and chopped and all that. You talk about PDS. I see PDS. PDS was a revelation by the MPP ourselves. The Nana Danko Akufo-Addo. And then the ECG decided that we have to do investigation about the happenings within the PDS. Do you remember even the NCA Compact 2? We had to forfeit it because even Nana Danko Akufo-Addo was warned that if you abrogate the PDA contract or concession, we will not get
The Compact agreement.
The
I remember.
Compact
I
agreement,
remember, yeah.
which was about $180 million.
Yeah,
None of them said yes, because the people who actually acquired it did not acquire it through the right means. When the insurance guarantee was not met.
Was not able to confirm that.
Yeah, it was not met.
Guaranteed. But the question is that
the president took that action
in respect of that,
even to forfeit
in respect of that,
the compact.
In respect of that, some monies were lost in the process. Now, a committed president would have recovered those monies. And I think that the argument about the PDS scandal is not the transaction itself, is what emanated after the transaction.
No, but do you know that matters are still in court?
I agree with you.
The matters are still in court. So you cannot come to conclusion that monies have been lost.
But why is the matter in court?
So why is the matter in court?
You are a student of law. Why is the matter in court?
Why is the matter in court?
Why is the matter in court? We can comment on why the matter is in court.
PDS were not happy with certain things.
What things are they talking about? What things?
I mean, the abrogation and all that.
Yeah. But in that process, we lost some money. Correct.
Definitely, it is possible that we might have lost some money.
Right.
But I'm saying that the matter is not conclusive.
Right.
For anybody to conclude that government sat down and did nothing about it.
Can you conclude for me? Okay.
Yeah. In conclusion, therefore, I am saying that what is happening in Nigeria is something that it's a wave. If you look at Ghana, I mean, we are not in that situation. When Hamza talk about Kenya is better, and I don't know how he defined better. In terms of per capita, Ghana is doing better than Nigeria. You know, per capita.
But if you look at the inflation, if you look at the rate of how do you think?
Even the depreciation of the CD or the currency, Ghana is doing Ghana CD. Yeah. Despite the fact that we have depreciated about 18.1% this year, it's still doing better than the Nigerian currency as against the dollar.
No, I think in terms of doing business, for instance, if you borrow in Ghana, you are expected to pay about 26% of the amount of money.
You mean the interest?
The interest, yes.
No, but the point it's not 26. The interest is now 23. 23%.
It was actually 29, dropped to 26.
Yeah, I mean, we are talking about current issues.
But currently, we are looking at 23. But if you look at, for instance, Togo and Kenya and all those things, you borrow and the interest that you are paying is about 1.2%.
But Togo is the Francophone countries.
Yes,
you cannot compare the Francophone countries to us.
Why?
Because the Francophone countries, they have a single currency. Their reserve is being held by France, and they ensure stability. The inflation, their inflationary pressures are very low.
Yeah,
but even with that, Côte d'Ivoire, Togo, and all those countries still went to the IMF for support.
Thank you very much, Saka Salia. I apologize. We've really expanded the conversation because we needed clarity on some of the matters which were mentioned here on the show. But you're still watching the News for Every segment here on Pan-African Television. My name again is KWAME DANSO. May I remind you that you can send us your views and comments via our WhatsApp number, which is on your screens now. We are also streaming live on Facebook, facebook.com/Pan-African Television, and also on YouTube. Next on the list, we are looking at the controversy in respect of the Atoforsen and Jakpa matter. And you do know that the Court of Appeal has actually ruled in favor of Atoforsen and Jakpa. The AG has vowed to appeal that matter. Now, you remember that there was an appeal which was sent to the Court of Appeal in respect of a submission of no case, which was determined, or rather predetermined by the High Court, where the High Court intimated that indeed the persons had a case to answer because the prosecution, in the estimation of the High Court, had been able to discharge, that obligation on them to prove their case. Now, they appealed the matter to the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal rescinded that decision, or overturned that decision by the High Court, and has now indicated that there is no case to answer. Submission of no case was actually upheld. Now, for the purposes of education, if we say submission of no case, it means that the prosecution has not been able to prove each and every element of the offense that they are charging these people with, or there's insufficient evidence or the lack of it, all right, and several other factors. So that is what the Court of Appeal is saying, that the prosecution has been unable to prove each and every element of the offense. There is no evidence, or there is lack of evidence, or there is insufficient evidence in that matter. Honorable Attorney General or Minister for Justice has come out to say that he's going to appeal, has vowed to appeal the matter. And he cites several reasons. I think one of them is the fact that he intimated that there is proof that there was a purchase of some ambulance, and there is also proof that the procurement process was shrouded in some bizarreness, if there's any word like that. Now, we are going to try or attempt to look at all these issues. And I also do know, it's not lost on me, that this matter has also been really very political. And so it's about public interest versus the law. And that is where we are now. But you also do know that in evidence, you know, they say that public interest must not be at all seen as an unruly horse, such that even when we know that a matter, you know, has violated the law, because of public interest, we will circumvent that matter and then replace it with public interest. So I will leave it to my panelists to have this diverse conversation. I think respectfully, let me start with you, Hamza.
I wanted to really interrupt and
Please. Also, sure.
Because you see, this is a public television, so when we are making comments, we also need to refer to people.
Yes, please.
You know, Salia made a comment that John Mahama never created any job, and I think that is inaccurate.
Yeah.
I live in Tema. The port expansion created a lot of jobs.
Yes.
Even the airport expansion, the east blocks and all of that. So we need to give some credit to people.
I think he admits that. I think he admits that because he said no, but when I'm not sure you intended to say that he was not done anything at all. All right. I understand. But you do understand what he's saying. No, I understand what. So let's come to Hamza. Yes, sir.
The nitty-gritties of the even before I go into the nitty-gritties of the Dr. Atuforsen case, like my brother here intimated, sometimes when we are communicating, we should understand that we are communicating to three groups of people. Those who are far intelligent than us are listening to us. Those who are of equal intellect with, and those we are better than. This is what we should have at the back of our mind when we are communicating, or if we are given an opportunity to sit either on radio or TV to communicate. And it appears that our colleagues from the other side, when given an opportunity, seem to arrogate to themselves some level of intellect that supersedes everybody. And that is why he concluded that John Mahama never created any job. Little did he know that most of his people now are gainfully employed under institutions and job avenues that were created under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. A classical example is the Accra Digital Center. They have appointed a CEO there. It has employed more than 10,000 youth under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Another classical example is the Tamale International Airport. They went to commission. Another classical example is the Terminal 3, Kotoka International Airport. The funny thing is that they are even unable to pay the workers at Terminal 3. The cleaners, the security persons there are struggling on a daily basis, and they have reduced them to beggars. Governance is a continuum, and you made so many promises. Your promises didn't tell us that you are going to be discriminatory. So why are you saying that we built it? We should pay them. Are we in government?
You built it. So
yes, we did. Because we were paying them. Please. I did not interrupt. I did not interrupt. When we built it, we were paying them. They were on salary. They were receiving their salaries. When you came, the best you have done out of it is to allocate some of the stores to your president's daughter. That is the best achievement there you have done for yourselves, not the Ghanaian people. And you know that as a fact. But you see, I will not try to waste so much time in trying to rebut what most people out there already know to be the stock in trade of the NPP. But on the substantive issue before the table, before us this morning, KWAME. You see, we have always said that what the NPP is best at when it comes to issues of accountability is propaganda. And to a very large extent, some measure of control over some elements within our judiciary. And that has been our concern from day one.
Right.
You know, we saw that hand when Chachu Chikata was tried and his eventual incarceration. We saw that unseen hand. And so, what is happening to Dr. Atuforsen is not new. But it is surprising that the Attorney General, instead of simply eating a humble pie and swallowing his ego, is signaling that he wishes to appeal against this decision to the Supreme Court.
Is it wrong?
Legally, it is not wrong. But you see, we are dealing with issues of legality and issues of administration of this state. We are talking about issues of effective management of our resources. For him to go on that appeal, so much expenditure would be advanced towards that. The question is, do we sincerely think that it is an appeal worth pursuing? I hold a different view, and I'll tell you why. When they appeared before the Court of Appeal, the issues were reduced to 3 fundamental issues. Whether or not the letter of credit, establishment of a letter of credit constituted an order of payment. The Court of Appeal did an excellent job in terms of its conclusion. Because it is tried law that a letter of credit, establishment of a letter of credit, in itself does not constitute an order for payment. Because when a letter of credit is issued, there are certain conditions attached to that letter of credit. Whoever subsequently receives that letter of credit must demonstrate fulfillment of those conditions before the person proceeds to pay. 2 minutes will be grossly unfair.
Okay. It's 9:41.
Yes, you see, so
but proceed.
Yes, so that person must demonstrate that the conditions have been met for them to pay. What Dr. Atuforsen basically did in this case was to write demanding the establishment of a letter of credit, which was subsequently issued and forwarded to the Ministry of Health, a different ministry, an entirely different ministry from his place. So the issue was whether he had authority in the first place to write for the establishment of a letter of credit. The Attorney General, again, failed to prove that indeed he lacked authority. Because their issue, the Attorney General's point was that the man lacked authority. But we all know, you are a lawyer, we all know that in law, he who alleges must prove. It is a fundamental principle of evidence.
Not just proof.
You understand? Especially in criminal cases, proof beyond reasonable doubt. So if you are arguing that Dr. Atuforsen as Deputy Finance Minister did not have the authority to sign the letter, to demand the establishment of the letters of credit, the onus was on the Attorney General in this case to actually prove. But interestingly, the Attorney General failed to prove that point. And indeed, about 3 prosecution witnesses all agreed that there was presumption of regularity as far as the letters concerned, written by Dr. Atuforsen was concerned. And you know the presumption of regularity under our Evidence Act. It is clear that when it comes to official records, the performance of official duty, there's a presumption of regularity until the reverse is proven by he who accepts that that presumption should not stand. I think the Latin word is omnia presumento. You see, and it is basic, and it is something the Attorney General must know. But he failed, even considering the number of witnesses he called, to demonstrate that Dr. Atuforsen lacked the authority of Sir Tepe to have written those letters. In any case, how can you be arguing that Dr. Atuforsen lacks authority when you failed to even call before the court Sir Tepe, his boss then? Because Sir Tepe in the witness box would have been the best person to tell us whether indeed he gave authority to Dr. Atuforsen to write those letters or not. Because in the letters, Dr. Atuforsen indicated that it was written on behalf of his sector minister. So the court on that second point or issue was clear that the Attorney General failed miserably to live up to the dictates of adducing evidence and proving his case beyond reasonable doubt. And one thing you should understand, that we are dealing with a criminal matter. And so when a matter is essential to guilt, even the basic principles that first of all will even establish the presumption must be proved. And so if you are saying that he lacked authority, the basic requirement is that you must prove that point beyond reasonable doubt. He failed miserably. And then the issue of Jakpa. This should be basic to any contract, a student of contract or company law. JECPA only acted as an agent to Big C Limited. So how can you start prosecution in the first place? And the principle that JECPA acted for was not brought before the court. And you brought JECPA as an agent. Was he acting in his own right? He was acting on behalf of a principal.
Yeah, but that must be established whether he was that agency that he was given was apparent. Whether he was dealing on behalf of the principal, or he was acting on a frolic of his own, because that's also the basis.
The point is that point has been established, because in all the letters that were written, including the letters, the LC, it was not written in JECPA's name. That is the point that needs to be explained. So if you are actually concerned about the legality or otherwise of the transaction, the appropriate party in this case would have been Big C2. That is the company.
And they said they even wanted to pay.
They said they were even willing. You should have brought them in. In any case. And so that is why I'm telling you that if you look at all these issues, because even a first-year student of law knows that when you reduce these three issues, or when you put these three issues down, it is simply something that you cannot enforce in any competent court of law in our country. And so for the Attorney General to still be arrogantly pursuing this case beats my imagination.
Very well.
Because you are wasting our resources. And to conclude, you see, how much are we talking about here? We are talking about 2.4 million euros. Kwame, in my earlier submission, I made reference to the amount of money this country is losing as a result of the twin ambulance case under them, that the president's daughter and the ex are engaging. We are talking about $34 million, an equivalent of 32 million euros, not 2.4. That has been wasted in the name of procuring spare parts for the ambulances. In any case, what was the cost of the ambulances when they were procured? It was about $54 million. And you, as a government, with this same Attorney General as the advisor, advised for such an amount of money to be paid to the president's daughters, 34 million, and you do not see that interesting enough to pursue. And what you are pursuing is 2.4 million euros.
All right.
That is why we believe that this is instigated by politics. And so for Saka, it is important that even in our politics, we demonstrate some measure of nationalism.
All right.
Even in our politics, we should be seen, especially the role of the Attorney General, we should be seen to be pursuing the national interest and not a partisan interest. And the whole conduct of our Attorney General, excuse my language, in this whole trial is a bit murky and unacceptable. And this should not be allowed to continue. One would have expected the Attorney General to simply bow out, especially when he was cautioned by the judge to stay off the matter. But he failed to do so. His conduct, Kwame, again, you are a lawyer. How would you go out of your way as the state's lawyer to engage an accused person without his counsel? And even in the process, attempting to urge him to leak documents to deceive the court.
Very well.
What kind of example are we setting in this country?
Very well. Let me say a big thank you to you, Hamza Suhini, for this submission. Saka, for the purposes of education, I think I mentioned that the Bank of Ghana's benchmark monetary policy rate was 29%. I was actually correct. It is inflation that has dropped from 22.8% to 23.1%.
No, I'm talking about interest rates.
Okay, so the interest rate, it depending on the banks.
Yes.
So right now, depending on the banks.
Yes.
So you are looking at some of the banks, hovering around, let's say 19.7%. Some of the banks hovering around 23%. Some of the banks hovering around 12.50%. So just for the purpose of education.
No
but
problem.
If you look at the Bank of Ghana's benchmark monetary policy rate, it is currently at 29% as of July 26, 2024. And then they have added some additional details just for clarity. But let me just read a few messages and I'll come to you. And then, good morning to Pan African Television. I'm calling Yebua from Nkonya in the Biakuya district of the Oti region. State institutions have seen the danger of being extremely partisan, especially in favor of the ruling government. In the event of a regime change, I shall be happy if all the institutions, state institutions, will learn the example of the appeal court and work for the state rather than the ruling government. I doff my hat to the judges. Kudos to them. All right, thank you very much. Also, good morning to you, Kwame. Let's know that the popular Mahama Kambu, which the MPP described as Mahama Kandu, has created more jobs than MPP government in 8 years. KOD, good morning to you. Thank you very much for doing a very good job for Mother Ghana and Africa. It is indeed true that the hardest job in Ghana now is putting up a defense in this shambolic and useless government of the MPP. Please tell the MPP panelist Sakasalia to credit us with some respect, for we are not serfs from the Middle Ages. We understand and know exactly what is happening in our beloved country in this barbaric regime. Almost the MPP panelist submissions on the various media platforms does not make sense since they assume power. Dahoy from North Kaneshi sent in this one. Good morning to you, Pan-African Television. Please, I want the statistics of the cases of the AG of the cases that the AG has either won or lost for the country, leading to either financial gain or loss to the state. Also, the number of NDC and MPP officials prosecuted for corrupt activities. Batoski from Hohoi sent in this one. And this one also says, please, good morning to you. If you entertain this man, you will lose viewers. My brother, please, you can't tell us what to do. Mr. Sakaselia should know that defending the indefensible is weak and bootlicking. All right, thank you very much. This man from MPP is chastising his intellect. What's your population and what's Nigeria's population? Never compare both economies. Please, the Ghana, yes, and Peace Day, Ghana, yes, and Hunger 2 Day, get an exposure. All right, gossip isn't experience. Okay, few WhatsApp messages. This one says, well spoken. From Ebe, good morning to the panelists. President Tinubu is scared of the protest because he might collapse from the shock and die. And KOD, please kindly attend to your, progressive forces. We miss you and we need you. Okay, thank you very much. And he said, well spoken, Saka, indeed, you've changed. Great composure today, great display today. Yes, I have noticed that his composure is top-notch today. Also, good morning to KOD. Please tell Sakasalia to stop what he's saying about our debt, saying we talk about it in dollars and spending dollars in Ghana cities or cities, etc. Please just let him know that I completed nursing training college in 2022 and I'm in the house waiting to be posted. And now they said they are going to only post 15,200 personnel, knowing very well that our 2-year seniors can only can be posted. What plans do they have for us and our juniors? Good morning to your MP, Honorable Mohammed Adams, MP for Sisala West, and also greetings to Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr. Okay, well, thank you very, very much. Mr. Host, the infamous ambulance trial and prosecution was drivel and political witch hunting and has no merit to warrant any incarceration of Honorable Atto Forsen and others. Our legal jurisprudence must not be based on whims and caprices of individuals who think they can use the law and the court to unjustly imprison innocent people deemed to have caused financial loss to the state. Written by Ernest Eval of Kwashi in DANSO. There are a number of you who are asking for the number that I put out, the number relating to the car company, Fix My Ride Company Limited. I told you that if your car gets spoiled anywhere in Ghana, they can provide you towing services and they're not going to charge you for it. Provided you are going to definitely fix the car with them. And also, if you're traveling, your car breaks down on the way, they will give you another vehicle and then tow yours back and fix it for you. You can call them on 0540 556 020 or 0202-227-660. Their numbers will be projected in the screens right now. So call them Fix My Ride Company Limited. If you also have an old car that is in the fitting shop and you cannot fix it and you want to sell it off, they can buy it. If you also have a car that is at the port, you want to clear it, you don't have money, you want to sell it, they can also buy it. So please call them now. The numbers are displayed on your screen. Saka, let me come to you and then I'll end with...
Thank you.
Right.
Before I also start, let me go back and clarify certain misconceptions that we put here. Hamza was talking about $34 million being then the president's daughters are involved and all that. I don't know where these people get their information from. From every account of Okudjata Blackwa's expose, the president's daughters are not involved in this 34 million service authority deal. There's no way we go to the Register General and their names are not there, but it's as a result of conjecture that there's somebody who is linked to them, and because maybe the person is linked to them or the person had previous engagement or collaboration with them, it means that they are the people. When Hamza was even talking, he didn't even say anything about the real owners of the company. It is just about the president's daughters, when indeed the president's daughters are nowhere near this particular thing. But because of politics, and then the same person will turn around and advise me. See the irony? Then somebody called and said, it is not true, Nigeria and Ghana. I mean, you see, in economics, when you are measuring the wealth of a nation, you take into consideration the population. And I was talking about the per capita, that Ghana is ahead of Nigeria when it comes to per capita in dollars. And then the person is saying, because we all know that if it comes to the raw, because Nigeria is by far larger than Ghana. They have the oil that they have is by far larger than that of what we have. Their population is higher, and you know that in this continent, I don't know whether some country has surpassed Libya. Libya used to be the richest country.
Yeah, that's a fact.
But the population is so small, their people are small. And if accumulatively, if you put all their wealth together, it will even reach Nigeria or even what they call Democratic Republic of Congo. But we calculate based on per capita. And the last one has to do with President Mahama. You see, somebody use the word useless. That you use your useless government and all those things. And these are the people who are taking inspiration from John Dramani Mahama. Because the word useless is his favorite word. And I heard the word useless again when he went to Tamale. And he was saying that somebody's trying to compare your useless government with that of Kwame Nkrumah. And today, if I do analysis and I use the word useless, I know how the NDC supporters and apologists will come at me. And then we have a president or a former president whose stalking trait or favorite word is the use of the word silly, bologna, useless, and all those things. And that is the reason why people like, is it the whore or whatever, is coming from. But now to the substantive matter. Hamza was talking about, the problem we have in this country is that the MPP have some modicum of control of the judiciary. How? What you said that it's a control that we control the judiciary. So what did you say? You didn't say.
I told you.
Yes.
The point I made was that if you look at the judiciary, there's a certain perception that this government seems to have some measured control over certain elements of the judiciary.
Is that policy what he said?
That's what I said. As a certain element. You can answer this program. You can play it back.
You were here when I was admonished by.
You can play it back.
So no problem.
10 o'clock
I will never say that.
Actually, we're controlling the judiciary.
No.
Listen, this matter would have, ended the other way around. But I'm saying that, you see, the NDC, they blow hot and cold. There are people who speak from both sides of their mouth, depending on the situation. We have seen this matter, gone through Justice Efia Sewa. And we all are in this country. And we've heard the insults, the castigation on the woman when she said that Japa and then Atufosin has a case to answer. It's simple. She only said that they have a case to answer. You should come to court and have your day. These people decided. I mean, it's a strike that in law. I mean, everybody has the opportunity to go the next level, the appellate. And then they themselves, Japa and Atufosin himself, appealed a decision. Why is somebody telling us that the Attorney General should not also appeal? And I'm saying that if you look at the Wyoming case, for instance, do you know that the Wyoming case, first of all, Matanamidu went to the High Court, he lost the case. He went to the Appeals Court, he lost the case. He went to the Supreme Court, he lost the case. And he went to review. And that was where Matanamidu won the case against Wyoming. So, and today, people are praising Matanamidu for doing a good job. So if maybe at the appeal, the 3 judges and 2 of them decided that, Atufosin and
there's no case to answer.
Do not have case to answer. Why would you then just jump into trajectories, into areas, and creating the impression that the Attorney General is partisan, is not competent? Look at the number of cases that the Attorney General has won in this country. And I am saying that at least the rule of law has prevailed. You talk about letters of credit, and that Atufosin issued the letter of credit on behalf of the ministry. There are evidence, written evidence, to show that the minister was not in agreement. That is the reason why, because I can understand the Court of Appeal, because the Court of Appeal did not have the opportunity to listen to the various witnesses. Because at that point, it is when you open, it is when you open your defense that you call witnesses to come.
That's a fact.
And then go through. At the end of the day, what did Japa say? Japa said that the finance minister then was Setepe was evil. That Setepe and then Sherry Ayite did not want the transaction in the first place.
You know the difficulty.
So that tells you that Atufosin did not have the authority of the minister.
But you know the difficulty about submission of no case.
Yes.
You know the difficulty about prosecution, criminal cases. It is so difficult that, because you see, this is somebody's life at stake,
of course,
and somebody's liberty and rights can be
and our money too at stake. The public
somebody's right. No, I'm just trying to say that, because you see, the law is so jealous, in protecting the rights and liberties of its people.
Exactly.
So it will not just allow for anybody to take advantage of the law to unjustly incarcerate somebody. So that is why the law is very, very specific when it comes to criminal cases, to say that you must establish a prima facie evidence against the person before the person even opens his defense. And that is why, even in criminal prosecutions, when there's a matter that really does not flow from the matter, from the substantive matter, okay, the court can actually allow for another sitting to make a determination on that specific matter, okay, before they come. So because there are so many nuances when it comes to criminal prosecution. This one, it's 10 o'clock. I know. I'm just. Okay. Yeah. This one is the difficulty with this one is that you must establish all the elements that I spoke about.
Exactly.
But also the decision is discretionary.
Exactly.
That is. Conclude for me. Which one is that? Which one is that? Then you will respond.
Yeah. Made the point that they did not have the benefit of the evidence. The judges who sat on this issue at the Court of Appeal, that when you are prosecuting an appeal, as part of the documents forwarded to the Court of Appeal is your record of proceedings.
Yes, that's
and your record of proceedings has details. Please, let me listen. Has details of the examination and cross.
It's wrong.
Come on. Can I quickly land? Please.
Look at the register has
the submission of no case was raised at the trial court.
Yes.
And they made arguments with references to the examination and cross-examination that have been conducted at the trial court.
Yes.
When the submission of no cold case was
they haven't opened their defense.
I'm coming.
You don't open your defense. Submission of no case.
You don't understand the submission of no case.
It is only the prosecution
You don't listen.
That is used.
Yes.
And what it means is that the prosecution would have called their witnesses, and after the prosecution is done with their case, the defense will be called either to answer or to present a submission of no case, or the judge on his own can determine that the defense has no case. I'm saying that, and so accept that.
No, listen.
That is not the law you are speaking, my brother. Please,
I am saying that.
don't mislead me.
Oh, please, why? We were talking.
You are trying to mislead.
I am saying that.
And conclude on that.
I am saying that at the submission of no case stage, the defense had not opened their defense.
That's a fact.
Very good. And I'm saying that if the Court of Appeal had the benefit of listening to the defense witnesses, listening to the defense, they would have known that Japa had said that Shere Ayite and the finance minister Setekpe did not agree in the first place with the transaction, and that they were evil.
But you see,
because if somebody says that they were evil,
hold on.
So what I understand what you're saying.
It is not law. What you're saying is
not
law.
speaking is not law.
I understand you.
I told you that there are evidence to show that.
So show the evidence.
The evidence was shown.
No,
it was shown. So you see, Ayite wrote a letter,
Saka,
disagreeing with the transaction.
Yes.
Setekpe wrote a letter, and it was based on those letters that the Attorney General says that he, Atufosin, did not have the authority. The Attorney General cannot just say that because
were those documents are referring to tendered into evidence?
Of course, yes.
Exactly.
Yes,
so
the
trial court had the benefit of those documents.
Exactly.
That is why in the first instance, that is why in the first instance at the High Court, the High Court said that on the basis of the documents so submitted or the evidence so tendered, there's a case to answer. Beautiful. So if they had proceeded, then the defense would have been forced now to open their case.
Yes.
Now the defense
have opened their case.
No, hold on. So the defense so the defense said that
because
let's correct.
Let's call the Court of Appeal.
Actually, then let me give you the opportunity.
No, I haven't finished.
No,
I haven't finished. Let me conclude. I haven't finished. But I'm saying that the two cases were going concurrently.
What I'm saying, okay.
No. It's a one case. It's one case. One at the appeal. It's one case. One at the appeal court. One at the appeal court and one at the trial court. Both of them were going concurrently.
I think that at the appeal, it's completely independent from what was happening at the trial.
Yes.
Because at the trial, the court had ruled that the defense should open the defense. Yes. So they've started, and it got into the point where Japa was in the dock.
Yes.
But the appeal was only looking at what has happened before the defense started, which was appealed.
Yes.
And it has absolutely nothing. So it had nothing to do. So they were not running concurrently because at any point that the they were all happening, but what was happening at the Court of Appeal
was different.
Had an effect. Yes. Whatever decision was going to happen
because they did not order a stay. The Court of Appeal had ordered a stay.
Yes.
But there was no. They didn't seek leave to order a stay.
Yes. But let me. I think that at this stage, one of the things we should be thinking about is to properly decouple the Attorney General's department from the Ministry of Justice, because we have this special prosecutor thing, and he may be prosecuting some cases, and then you have the Attorney General, which is now being seen by a number of people as political witch hunting and all of that. So from where I sit, I feel we need to have an Attorney General that is completely independent with a complete security of tenure that operates and functions for that purpose and is able to prosecute cases without any influences from any quarter and run our criminal prosecution, especially because you see it's entrenched, but it can still be amended.
They are giving pressure to close.
What we need to do is to have confidence in the prosecution,
Yeah.
particularly in the Attorney General. Because if you have an Attorney General that had gone through public services and been properly appointed and not a political appendage, I'm sure that we wouldn't be having these issues of back and forth with persons having to say that the AG says we deliberately wanted to jail Atuforsin or that. It must be very independent. It should be possible for us to look at the broader picture, because we're going to have that cycle of now NDC comes to government.
The special prosecutor was coming to
no, but you see, the special prosecutor has its limitation. It takes its authority from the Attorney General.
Yes, that's the Constitution.
No, it takes its authority not from the Constitution, from the Attorney General.
Yeah, that's the Constitution.
No,
it's a constitutional
imperative. You see, that's what I'm saying. That let's have an Attorney General that is completely independent, with a complete security of tenure, that is appointed not as one of the appointees of a president, but of a system that gives him that protection, that confidence and mandate to prosecute his agenda. In fact, we need to protect the IGP and all those very important persons that are appointed. If you give, because the person have too much,
this will bring chaos.
Especially.
My time is up. Where the Attorney General, where the police have problem with the executives. Can you imagine how Ghana will look like?
You see, why do we think that persons cannot on their own, based on their professional competence? What level are we talking about? Then we have not reached a level where we need to examine ourselves.
Harmony. Thank you very much.
If we cannot have IGP, the police, if we cannot have after 25 or 30 years of democracy, we cannot have an IGP that is independent. We cannot have a chief of defense that is independent. You cannot have an attorney general that is independent. Then we have not been having a president.
Thank you very much, Sakatalia. Thank you, Register. And I apologize to you. I owe you extra minutes next week when you come.
No, I'm not coming.
Whatever, but you will come back. You will come back. After what? Xmas?
After a month.
Oh, no, but you will definitely come back. And Hamza, thank you very much. Somebody was asking if you are Suini's brother. Yes, he is Suini's brother. Now, look, let me just read this out, and then we draw the curtains on today's edition. So when we say a submission of no case, it's a legal term that refers to a situation where the prosecution or plaintiff in a court case fails to present sufficient evidence to prove their case, and the defense argues that there is no case for them to answer. In such a scenario, the defense may submit a no-case application asking the court to dismiss the charges or the case altogether. This can happen in both criminal and civil cases. If the court agrees with the defense, it may enter a judgment of no case to answer, which means the defendant is acquitted or the case is dismissed. Now, a submission of no case can be based on various grounds, as I stated earlier, including lack of evidence, insufficient evidence, failure to prove key elements of the case, inconsistencies in the prosecution's or plaintiff's case. And it is a significant legal strategy, as it can lead to the dismissal of charges or the case and acquittal of the defendant. So this is just by way of it. And yes, the High Court matter was going on, but there was a substantive matter which was appealed, and that substantive matter is actually incidental to the outcome of the High Court decision. And I think that what the Court of Appeal has done is to now say that let's reverse back to the earlier decision which was taken by the High Court in respect of the submission of no case, to say that indeed that application for submission of no case should have been upheld, because according to the court, all these elements that I have so brought out were not met by the prosecution. Simpliciter. So that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. Happy birthday.